Yeah, good to see you. Welcome back. We're carving with Eric here. I wanted to show you, it's June 26th is what it is, and I've been thinking about doing this video for a while. But yesterday I got a thing from Facebook that says, you know what? It's 6 months to Christmas. June 25th to December 25th, 6 months. So if you're going to do these, you better get cracking on them. I do a lot of these Santa ornaments, and I really enjoy doing them because number one, they bring a smile to my face. But when I'm sitting somewhere and I'm selling a few carvings, especially around holidays or around Christmas time, people want gifts, or they're looking for things to give to others, and I give a few of these away to friends and colleagues, family, whatever. But I really enjoy doing them. Santa Claus has always been a favorite subject of mine, and I really enjoyed carving these, and I get a kick out of doing them. It just brings a smile to my face. I do these out of basswood, and I do these out of just a lot of this is leftover wood from something else, and so most of these are roughly out of a piece of basswood that looks somewhat like this. I've taken it and I've split it in half, and I'll show you that here in just a minute. Most of these ornaments come right out of that. And it's easy for me to be able to fit them right in there because I'll have some leftover wood at the end of a stick or the end of a board. I'll have some stuff left over. These smaller ones come out of about 1.5 inches, 1.25 by 3.5 to 4. These are the smaller ones. Bigger ones are a little bit different. There's little short guys like this one. I make these out of a 2 by 2 by 4. So this is about 2 inches. You'll cut a little bit. You'll lose a little bit of that when you cut it. 2 by 2 by 4 inches long. And these are neat little ornaments. I put a little eye hook in the top of them. I have some different kind of string and hanger material that I use for it, but they're relatively simple to do. They're easy to paint because you only got red, whatever flesh color you got, white, and whatever color you put in the eyes, the black color behind it. But it's a relatively easy color to carve, and it's a relatively easy carving to do. Now, like I said, I cut this wood to where it ends up being a triangle out of a 2 by 2 block of wood. And so if you can imagine that block looking somewhat like this, square block, and then you line it up in this contraption that I've got, I'll drag out here in a minute. Slide it right through the bandsaw, and it just cuts slicker than a whistle. Let me show you what I've got. I made this thing after watching other people and how they did it. This is just a 2x4, piece of 2x4 that I've cut. It's got 45-degree angle cuts in here, and you can do this in a variety of different ways. I know there's a guy online that does his, and he cuts them one 24-inch piece and then glues the two pieces together. But this was easier for me because I don't have a table saw. I had just a circular saw. Anyway, once I cut it, once I've got the 245 degrees in here, and I cut out a piece in here for the bandsaw blade to ride in, and I put 2 pieces down here and 1 piece down here, so I can clamp this into my bandsaw right down here. This clamps. This I don't clamp because not enough room to do that, I reckon, but it allows this board to keep from going up and down. Anyway, once you get this clamped in and lined up so your bandsaw blade will run right through there, all you need is a 2 by 2 block, and you slide it right in here. And if you keep it snug where it's not going to rock back and forth on you, can keep it snug by pushing down. Once you start pushing forward, as long as that blade will go straight down that way, you're in good shape. And you want it, as long as you're keeping it snug, then make sure your blade comes out right on that edge right there. And you can just cut it straight up, and you'll end up with, this is I think 12 inches, you'll end up with 12 inches of stock that you can use for ornaments, and you'll end up with these 2 by 2 by 4 inch pieces that you can use for carving that. And it's relatively simple in terms of the number of tools we've got. We don't need a lot of tools for doing these, and so you can do these with just a few tools. So again, I do them in several different sizes. I don't do many of these big ones. These ones are hard to sell. You can give them away very easily. Everybody always wants you to give stuff away. They don't necessarily want to buy it, but the big ones are kind of hard to get rid of because when you put it on a tree, it's going to bend down the bough of the tree, and there's not a lot of trees that have that much space in between them. But anyway, I'm going to slide these off. I've got a couple of them. This one I finished with. This one I'm still working on. I'm not quite done with him, but I got a number of them here, and I'll slide. You can see how many. I get these little extra pieces of wood left over, and I use them, and boy, they come in handy, and it keeps you from having to get rid of all that excess scrap wood that you've got. But we're going to start with just a simple one of those 2x2x4s. And I've got it drawn on here. I didn't mean to draw on there. Let me erase that off of there because I don't want that on there. It's going to be confusing to me. Yeah, it's going to come off very easily. Anyway, I'm going to take one of the ones that I've got, and I'm going to use that to make me some lines. So what you're going to have at the top is you're going to have the top of the hat right here, and it's going to come around down somehow. And then you have to decide whether the tassel or the ball, whichever way you do it. You can certainly do these in a lot of different ways. If you made them a little bit longer, you could give him a longer beard like an old world Santa. You could give him a more pointed hat, one with a flop over, even with some tassels on it. I've seen some Santa depictions from other countries in which they've got all kinds of different ones. But I'm going to stick with the old type Santa that I grew up with. Real smiley face, big fat cheeks, smiling eyes, big eyebrows, and then we'll tool all of that. But if you draw on there, it's relatively easy to draw on there. Pick out which side you want the ball to be on, and I usually do them on the right side, so let's just be contrary and do it on the left side today, or the right. I usually do them on the carvings right side. I'm going to do it on the carvings left side, my right side now. And the hat's going to fold over and look like that. And then I don't want to call it fringe, it's the fluffy part of the hat. Somewhat like that. Let me get a marker so you see a little bit better. I imagine that might be a little bit hard to see in that background. But I'm going to draw the circle. This is the ball and the end of the hat. I'm drawing from the top down. And then I'm going to draw in the fluffy band. I don't know that there's a specific word for that, but fluffy band works. And then somewhere here you're going to have to decide how thin you're going to want that face. Are you going to thin it up, or are you going to go all the way out to the outside? If you go out to the outside, when you tip in here like this, what you'll end up with is a more fat face when you do that. You can certainly thin it up. Let me find one here. Here's one that's a little bit thinner. And you can certainly do that. But this is your Santa. You do whatever you want, whatever makes you jolly. I'm going to draw a rough approximation of how the beard's going to look down here at the bottom, and then I'm going to draw it here on the edge. It's going to come out kind of like this. So you can see if I do that, then part of that hat's going to come off, but it'll leave that ball sticking out, and part of this hat will come off down to there. Somewhere here I'm going to have an eye socket with some eyebrows, and I just draw them generally as a generic place where I put them. And somewhere here I'm going to have a nose. Now again, you can measure these things perfectly if you want, because if you measure from the top of from the hairline down to the eyebrow down to the nose, down to the bottom of the chin, you got your third. But this is one of those things where we can stretch it any way we want. But anyway, I'm going to kind of draw those in for you so that you can see them. And feel free, I'm not here to tell you how to do it. I'm here to show you how I do it. You do whatever you want to. You could certainly do it a lot of different ways. One of the things somebody gave to me a long time ago was this study stick by Harold Enlow. If you ever get study sticks can be handy if you're just a beginner starting out, or if you need to see a different way that you're doing it. For instance, if your Santas all look long and narrow and you want one short and fat, you can certainly grab one of these study sticks. This one by Harold Enlow was made in 1991. I don't recall where I got it. I think somebody gave it to me, but I might have bought it at an estate sale. I'm not sure. But anyway, this is a pretty good progression of how you cut in the ball, how you do the nose. He's got a relatively flat nose, how you outline the hat, and how you outline the beard, and then you go into outlining the beard part up where the eyes are. You're deepening the eye sockets. You're getting this smile line in here, and you're coming in here with your smiley mustache here and scooping out the mouth, and then on and on and on. And this is just one of many types of study sticks that you can buy. I like this one. I think there's a book that comes with it as well. It's if I'm not mistaken, Harold Enlow's done several of those where it's carving the female face or carving the hobo or carving the whatever. And I think this is one of them, but I don't recall because I don't believe I have that picture. But one of the things I want to point out on this, and I really like Harold Enlow's carvings, and he's one of the best carvers in the country. But look at how this all flows. Let me zoom in here just a little bit. You see that face right there, and what you see is a lot of flow in the beard, and that's what I've not put a lot into mine. Not because I don't want to, but simply because I don't know. It's a little bit more work to do that, and if you're turning them